Well, good evening and welcome back to another episode of Obsessed with the Palmers. I'm Caitlin Palmer.
And I'm Clay. We already did.
I don't know why I did that.
We put the intro in there already.
Yeah, delete that.
Delete it?
Yeah, just delete it.
Go. All right. Well, go ahead. I'll delete that.
No, I don't trust you. You're not going to do it.
I will do it.
Ugh.
Well, before from the beginning.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Obsessed with the Palmers.
I'm Caitlin Palmer.
It's been a stressful day. Welcome to our show, Obsessed, where we talk about cryptids, mythology, folklore, and whatever else we're currently obsessed with. I'm Caitlin Palmer.
And I'm Clay.
And we're
Obsessed.
Welcome to the depths of the unknown, where myths ripple beneath dark waters and legends lurk just out of sight. Today we journey to the heart of...
Alright, I definitely turned my shit on silent. I know I did not turn my shit on silent.
Welcome to the depths of the unknown, where myths ripple beneath dark waters and legends lurk just out of sight. Today we journey to the heart of Okanagan Lake to uncover the chilling tales of Ogopogo, the elusive lake serpent said to haunt its depths. But that's just the beginning. We'll dive into the shadowy realms of lesser-known sea monsters, creatures whispered about in hushed tones, lurking in forgotten corners of the world. Are they figments of human imagination or something far more sinister? Turn off the lights, lean in close, and prepare to face the monsters hiding just beneath the surface. So today we're talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is lake monsters. One of my favorite lake monsters is the lesser-known Ogopogo. Clay, you don't really know anything at all about Ogopogo, is that right?
Yeah, not about Ogopogo himself.
Okay. So Ogopogo is essentially, for lack of better terminology, right? He's the Canadian Nessie. So like the Loch Ness Monster of Canada.
I thought Champ was like our Nessie.
Well, Champ is the United States. We're going to talk about them too.
Okay, so Ogopogo is Canada's
Yeah,
Nessie.
Ogopogo is Canada's
Everyone gets
Nessie.
a Nessie.
Everyone gets a Nessie. So this is a weird thing about sea serpents. And
they recently dug into a long lost under the ground lake in Antarctica.
That's so cool.
Where the life forms that live there, mostly bacteria and stuff, have not been in contact with any other life on this planet for thousands of years.
Oh yeah, no, the oceans, the water, I mean, Earth is only 29% land.
Well, I was going to say was, do you think Antarctica gets its own Nessie too?
Probably. Well, I don't know. Antarctica doesn't have any dragons.
That's true. It's the only place that don't have dragons.
So maybe.
This is bullshit.
It is. I agree. So Ogopogo was named after an English music hall song called the Ogopogo, which is really cute. This has a really cute name, and it's really kind of campy at first until you learn about it. People who have seen it say it's heart-stopping. Like, Ogopogo is actually kind of scary.
So it doesn't look like Nessie.
Well, kind of.
Because Nessie isn't what I would describe as scary.
No, I think Nessie's cute. But the native people, of course, didn't call it Ogopogo. They called it Naktik.
That's way cooler.
It's way cooler. So Okanagan, which is the lake in which Ogopogo is said to live, it's a lake in British Columbia, and it's about 800 feet deep at its deepest spots.
It's pretty deep.
It's pretty deep. To put that in perspective, Lake Lanier is only 250, 300 feet.
Yeah, and that's deep enough to
have an entire city underneath.
To have trees beneath you when you swim.
Right. But like many places with a cryptid or an alleged lake monster, Lake Okanagan, the people therein have embraced Ogopogo. They've actually even come out in record and said if someone sees Ogopogo, that's front page news every time, which I think is very sweet. So it's said to have a long body with humps or coils, and it can be seen breaking the water for up to 50 feet.
Coils?
Coils, yeah, like a serpent.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right. So,
it's
like
a very
writhing on the surface.
right. So it's got a long body. We just said that. It's got smooth, dark skin, usually described as being like a black, like snake skin, but sometimes it's black with blue-green body. And the body is usually thicker than that of a telephone pole, and it has the face of either a horse or a snake.
I wasn't thinking of horse.
Well, a lot of like Nessie sightings call it like a water horse.
Well, yeah, but that's probably tying more into that everything over there is a Kelpie.
Fair enough. This is an extremely fast sea serpent, and it's said to be more serpentine than Nessie. So Nessie, we think more like a plesiosaur, a dinosaur, basically. Ogopogo is a sea serpent.
Right, yeah. A water snake.
Right. So the Silk were the nation's first peoples. They were a tribe that lived in Washington State and British Columbia, and they recognized the water as a sacred entity and relative that connects all life. Indigenous tales speak of a powerful water spirit, Naktik, the guardian of the water, but it's an evil supernatural entity with great power. Naktik demanded a live sacrifice for safe passage across the lake.
Oh, yeah.
And for hundreds of years, animals would be sacrificed before attempting to cross the lake. Not a fan of that part. But sometimes they would offer tobacco or sage in order to get permission to cross the lake. It's unclear if the monster accepted tobacco and sage, but we do have pictographs found that do depict a lake monster. So this is an ancient being, whatever it is. Allegedly, a native chief once rejected the required sacrifice. He didn't provide a sacrifice, and Ogopogo sunk his ship with his great tail.
Well, I don't know what to say. He knew the rules.
He did. You pay the tithe. There's a story where an offering was not made, and the lake itself became enraged. The tribe's horses were released, and while they did make it across the lake, they were found with scars and gashes and bite marks on their body.
Oh, no.
And unlike most things, allegedly the new settlers actually believed the nation's first people, which was kind of cool. They actually posted guards around the lake.
To do what? To, beat up Ogopogo?
Yeah. So, like we said, Nessie is considered more docile, whereas Ogopogo is kind of a beast. Sightings have been reported over the last about 200 years. In 1926, 10 people claimed to have seen it. And in 1968, we got our first footage. There was even a car pileup when someone thought they saw something in the water, and everyone got out of their cars to go look.
Oh, I thought you meant and slammed on brakes and then everyone wrecked into him.
Oh, I mean, maybe that too, but I don't think so. No, it was just everybody. They were like, oh my God, it's the sea monster. And then there was a car pileup and everyone got out and was like, oh my God. And it
definitely was.
And it 100% was.
And they got clean, unblurry footage.
Right. And it's scientifically indisputable.
And Ogopogo gave an electronic signature saying that it was in fact him in that footage.
Yes. Yeah. Why am I telling this story? You already know everything. It's been seen breaking the water or swimming alongside boats. We don't know what Ogopogo is. Is it a sea serpent? A giant eel? Just a log? Some kind of ancient whale species?
Just a single log. Not even sightings of logs mistaken for sea serpents, but just it is one log that has caused all of this fuss.
Exactly. It's not even floating, it's on the shore. And they're like, that's it.
That's the one.
But if you've ever seen footage of, because I always thought how do you confuse a log for a sea monster? Yeah. But then I've seen videos of logs and driftwood and stuff in the water, and the wake they leave does kind of look like humps.
Right, yeah.
So It's kind of one of those you have to see it to understand, but yeah, I can definitely see where a lot of these sightings are probably logs, honestly. That also has a very derpy statue of Ogopogo by
Oh,
Lake Okanagan. And it's really cute. It kind of looks like Puff the Magic Dragon, but more serpentine. And it's amazing.
I love derpy statues.
I do too. But the native people still believe that it's an evil spirit protecting the darkness of Lake Okanagan. Now, we talked about Champ. He's the Lake Champlain monster. Lake Champlain is the Adirondacks' largest lake.
Oh, we're going to talk about Champ, I guess?
Yeah, we're moving on to Champ. I couldn't find a whole lot about Ogopogo.
Wow.
Most of it was footage, which we can't really share here.
We could watch the footage and comment on how much like a log it looks.
We can. Do you want to?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't think that would translate to an audio medium very well.
I did listen to a podcast about sea serpents, and they did do a section where they would watch a video, but they have their podcast as both an audio and a video.
Right, yeah.
So if you're watching the video, you can watch the video with them, obviously. But if you're listening, you just kind of listen awkwardly for a few minutes, and then they watch it again and describe
and then
what's
you
happening.
hear somebody just go, "Oh wow."
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, that's definitely not a log. Now, Clay, don't be too disappointed that there's not a whole lot about Ogopogo, because we've got quite a few more lake monsters to go through. And in fact, the deeper I dug, the more I think that I'm going to have to revisit this in a two-parter.
Oh, you're doing a two-parter?
Well, not like consecutively, but at some point I'll come back and add more sea serpents.
Okay.
Because there's a lot. Like every lake has a lake monster.
Yeah.
Basically.
Just like every loch has a kelpie.
Or a nest monster. So we know Champ. Champ's the Lake Champlain monster. Lake Champlain is the Adirondacks' largest lake. I didn't know what the Adirondacks was. It's a mountain range. It's in northern New York with thousands of lakes and 30,000 miles of rivers and streams. It's a protected area, and it's larger than Yellowstone.
Damn.
In fact, it's the largest historical national landmark in the United States.
The largest historical landmark?
Yes. That's what I meant. The Abenaki and the Iroquois both have legends about a great creature inhabiting the lake, which looked like a large horned serpent. The Abenaki called this monster Gittaskog.
Gittaskog?
Gittaskog.
Let me see how that's spelled.
Gitaskog.
That is almost Viking.
I know, it's amazing. The native people warned French explorers about a monster in the lake that disturbs the water, but as it goes, they had to learn the hard way.
And they died.
And they probably died. Samuel de Champlain, for whom the lake is named after, is said to be the first European...
I'm sorry, you want to take another one of that? Samuel de Champlain.
Okay, from now on, I'm just going to look at you and you say it, okay? Ready?
Okay. I mean, I don't have to do it again. I just did it.
Do it again now.
Samuel de Champlain.
For whom the lake is named after, is said to be the first European to sight Champ. Although the exact location of where he saw the alleged monster is up for debate. Some say it was on Lake Champlain. Some say it was another lake entirely. Oh. But like we said, every lake has a monster anyway. Yeah. So, and here is his description. The description of...
The description of?
Samuel de Champlain. I need you to say
Samuel de Champlain.
Said... There's also a great abundance of many species of fish. Amongst others, there is one called by the native chassereau, which is in various lengths, but the largest of them, as these tribes have told me, are from 8 to 10 feet long. I have seen some 5 feet long, which are as big as my thigh, and had a head as large as my 2 fists, with a snout 2.5 feet long, and a double row of very sharp, dangerous teeth. Its body has a good deal of shape of a pike, but it is protected by scales of a silvery gray color and so strong that a dagger could not pierce them. Many historians believe that this creature was a garfish or a sturgeon.
Yeah, I was going to say, that kind of sounds like an alligator gar.
It does. That's a scary looking
Although 6 foot long, that's really friggin' big.
Yeah, and as thick as a man's thigh. I mean, like, I mean, we talk about Ogopogo being as big as a telephone pole, so...
Yeah.
I mean, that's a thick boy.
Yeah, that's a big old gar.
That's thick. In 1819, the Plattsburgh Republican newspaper has an account from Captain Crumb, which is an iconic name, who reported seeing a black monster about 187 feet long with a head resembling a seahorse that reared more than 15 feet out of the water. He exclaimed the monster he saw had 3 teeth, eyes the color...
Just 3?
3 teeth. I think he's kind of silly looking. Eyes the color of a peeled onion, a white star on its forehead, and a belt of red around its neck. But it was seen from 200 yards away.
I guess. I don't know. It sounds like he saw real good, because that's a lot of description.
I think Captain Crumb might have been full of beans.
Oh, he's full of beans.
I think he might have been full of beans. But I still, his name is Captain Crumb, and therefore I love him. We have a cat named Crumb. In 1873...
He's fat.
He is fat. We call him Boy.
He's the boy.
The boy. In 1873, there were a few famous sightings. A railroad crew reported seeing the head of an, quote, enormous serpent with bright silvery scales that glistened in the sun.
Did the people that they were reporting that to say, so did your mom?
Yes, actually they did. It's right here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a quote from Captain Crumb that said, your mom.
Right. It's like, oh yeah, I saw the head of a giant serpent. It's like, hey, so did your mom.
It was a monster. That's what your mom said.
That's what your mom said. And then he gets eaten by a 3-toothed, like, sea serpent. And everyone's like, oh shit.
He sounds really cute. Then Clinton County Sheriff Nathan H. Moody says he saw, quote, an enormous snake or water serpent.
So did your mom.
He estimated it to be 25 to 35 feet long. Then allegedly a steamship encountered Champ by running into him.
Oh,
and the ship nearly capsized.
Oh.
It didn't, but it
So wait,
almost did.
Did he mention how big Champ was at all? Is there a description of how big Champ is?
Well, so the earlier reports say that he's only like 10 feet long. I mean, it varies. All of these sea monsters.
Well, you
some
know, you
of them
don't
are
usually
5 feet
see
long.
all
Some of them are 200 feet long.
You don't usually see all of the sea serpent.
Right.
Because some of them's underwater.
Right.
So I guess you have to make assumptions.
But there's even, in most of these, there are stories of them coming out of the water too.
Like on land?
Yeah, which is scary. Like almost like a seal. Clay, you remember our good friend P.T. Barnum? Well, he offered a reward of $50,000 for, quote, the hide of the great Champlain serpent to add to my mammoth World's Fair show. I think P.T. Barnum was the king of just like pushing in a little advertisement everywhere he went, a little bit of self-promotion.
Yeah, because he's like, you're not going to find this thing. It isn't real. Like, what he's thinking. And he's like, but I can be the eccentric rich man who's offering, a shit ton of money for it. And that, for me, is free advertisement.
Yeah, really.
Until somebody does bring back, like, a sea serpent and he's got to pay up. And he's like, I don't have money.
Right. He's like, I'm actually broke. I stay at the homeless shelter at night.
I don't have any money.
Any at all. So... Champ is actually protected by law on both sides of Lake Champlain. Oh, yeah. It reminded me a lot of the Nutria Rat pardoning they do at the Rougarou Festival. There's a baseball team in Vermont called the Lake Monsters, and Champ is their mascot.
Nice. They could have just called them the Champions.
That would be cute, but...
And then have the Lake Monster as
the
mascot. And, like, the symbol. And people are like, what does that mean? And then you have to explain it. So right. I guess that's why they didn't do it, because...
That's probably they were like, we're just going to be the Lake Monsters. And it's just, it's going to be that. But I thought that was sweet. They fully embraced Champ. And I, for one, love Champ. Except with the peeled onion eyes, like the dead fish eyes.
That was an interesting descriptor, for sure.
That's upsetting. I don't like that. I also read, I guess it's kind of a creepypasta. Unexplained Encounters is a really, go listen, they're so good. Not a sponsor, just a huge fan. But they have a story from darkstories.org, and it mentions a wood dragon on the Orcas Island.
A wood dragon?
Yeah, so they thought it was, I'll just summarize because I don't have permission to read the story, of course, but essentially, they thought it was a log, and they're like, "Oh man, that's kind of cool. It looks like a dragon head," And they left, and they came back, and it had moved, like it wasn't there anymore. But and then later, people said, "Oh yeah, no, like my great grandparents used to leave goats by the lake, like as a sacrifice to it, so it wouldn't hurt us."
Oh, so it was a dragon made of wood.
Oh no, it was a living thing, but it camouflaged to look like it was wooden.
Oh.
Yeah. So, Wisconsin, of all places. Wisconsin. They have a plethora of lake monsters. Wisconsin has...
Do they have a plethora of lakes, or is it a really crowded lake?
No, I've got both. There's a few. We're going to talk about my favorite one in just a couple of minutes, but right now we're going to talk about Rocky, who is the terror of Rock Lake. And I very much enjoy, I very much enjoy these little names. They're cute. Champ,
from
Champlain, and
Rocky of
Rock Lake. If you want to learn more about them, go check out WisconsinFrights.com, because they have just a whole thing about sea monsters and sea serpents. It's so cool. So, Rocky, the legendary body of water in Lake Mills, is said to, quote, and this could be its own episode, conceal pyramids and an ancient necropolis with the connections to Atlantis, and is also home to an aggressive serpent that has been terrorizing residents since it was first spotted in 1869, hissing at observers from the shadows.
Now, this kind of sounds like something our guy, Mr. John Preble, would have set up.
Possibly.
At the Avita Mystery Museum.
But yeah, I'm like, wait, what?
Underwater pyramids and ties to Atlantis.
Yes. In Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin. Which is, to my knowledge, completely landlocked and very far away from northern Africa. So, neither close to Atlantis nor Egypt, as far as my recollection goes.
It was aliens, Clay.
Aliens could have did it.
Aliens could have did it. One man even claimed to have hooked it with his fishing line and then got dragged a half a mile across the lake before the line broke.
But he wouldn't let go of the fucking fishing rod?
Would you?
Yeah.
If you were like, I've got the monster.
What am I gonna do?
Catch it.
How?
I don't know.
That's not how it works.
Look, I'm not dumb.
If he's large enough to move me,
I would, yeah. But I always wonder, like, how you see in cartoons how someone hooks a big fish, right, and it pulls them across the body of water in their boat. Wouldn't it pull you out of the boat?
Probably. Unless you like hooked yourself. There's a lot of geometry and physics at work here that's a little dry and not fun to explain.
Yeah, I've already lost interest in that movie.
Technically, you could drag the boat with your body if you angled yourself appropriately.
Yeah, you'd have to, like, lock your legs, like...
You'd have to act like a hook on the boat.
Right, yeah, like you'd have to position yourself just so.
Right.
Interesting. Not for me. I get seasick if I'm on a pool floaty for too long, so this is not a thing for me. But it's also said to be a large serpentine monster, so it's got a snake head, not the horse head.
Okay, so an actual snake head.
An actual snake head. This brings us to our last of this episode, monster. And this one is a big old hell to the nay-naw from me.
Oh, is this one scary?
I'm talking, of course, about the Red Cedar Lake / Lake Ripley Monster. It's actually thought that Red Cedar Lake and Lake Ripley are connected by an underground channel. So whatever the monster is, it's able to go back and forth between the two.
Okay.
Which you hear about this, right? You hear about subterranean tunnels that things can move through. We were talking before we started recording about underwater tunnels.
Yeah. And that's a big thing with, like, Loch Ness, too.
Right. So even though you drag the bottom, you're not necessarily going to get everything.
Right, yeah. There's plenty of cavernous tunnels that you could go scuba dive in and then die a horrible death, like all the people in the videos I watch all the time of underwater caving gone wrong.
Yes, and whenever we eat, it's a whole thing. We watch Scary Interesting and we're like, oh man, that's terrible, while we're eating pizza. And they're like, man, that's just so bad. And then we're like also eating wings and stuff.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh, no, if he panics, they're going to silt out.
It's like when you're watching Ninja Warrior, like while you're in your pajamas eating a
Right, we've watched enough of it, and the things that can go wrong while doing, like, underwater cave diving are numerous and might as well be limitless, but there's a lot of things that go wrong that are very similar.
Right.
And it usually starts with panicking, or just not being prepared from the very beginning.
And I am both of those things. I am both unprepared and a panicker.
I will never go underwater cave diving.
No, that doesn't appeal to me one bit.
It is unlikely I will do either of those things separately, much less together.
Right? Oh, gosh. I do want to go dive with great white sharks, though, but in a cage.
In a cage?
In a cage, yeah.
Well, what if you end up like the girls in that one kind of shitty shark horror movie?
Which one?
I don't remember. 2 girls in a cage or something like that.
That sounds like something else.
I remember one. It was 2 girls and they went doing the cave diving cage diving thing with the sharks, and something went wrong and they got stuck down there, and the only way they'd survive was to exit the cage and swim to the surface, and the sharks killed them because sharks in horror movies are like super aggressive hyper killers. Yeah. And not just like fish. An animal. Yeah, a big fish that happens to have teeth.
Oh, but back to the Red Lake / Lake Ripley Monster. I think Lake Ripley sounds cooler.
Yeah, that sounds cool. But
I just like Ripley.
Yeah, well, you're thinking of Ellen Ripley.
I am. I also wanted to name one of our dogs Ripley. It's a good name. In 1891, something was stalking the shores and animals would go missing. But only half of their half-eaten carcasses would later wash ashore.
Okay.
So this is livestock and people's pets, so that's a mark against the Lake Ripley Monster.
Because it would also eat pets?
Yeah, don't eat pets. Dogs and cats is not food. Witnesses reported to have seen a large dinosaur-like head and a thick snake body with buggy eyes and greenish-brown flesh.
Now, when you say buggy, do you mean like the insectoid, like segmented eyes, or like large bulbous?
Like bulging eyes. Like bugging out.
Oh.
Yeah. So it makes me think again about like dead fish eyes.
Yeah.
I don't love that. But it is said to have dived very much like a dolphin. Despite looking serpentine. Well, no, it had a dinosaur-like head, so...
What do you think the porpoise of that is?
Who is she? Who is she? Every now and then, listeners, Clay will come up with a dad joke, just out of nowhere, just like my dad. And this is the age where if we were going to have children, I think we would have had children, so maybe part of it's just the biological thing. But I swear, he had an affair, and he's got a family and a kid out there. You know who you are. Some claim to have seen...
It just jumped right back into it.
Some people claim to have just seen an undulating form in the water.
Undulating form is a sweet band name.
Yes, it is. There's even a story of men measuring the ice on a frozen lake and following a form for nearly 100 feet before it started to push against the ice, which was nearly a foot worth of ice. While it did not break the surface, it did crack it, and there was an unpleasant sound that I can only imagine made the men shitted their pants.
Shitted their pants.
And I would like to also point out that shitted, S-H-I-T-T-E-D, does not bring up a spelling error. So shitted is correct.
It's correct. All right.
Shitted is correct.
I was going to say, thank you, Shakespeare.
Thank you, Shakespeare. This one kind of messed with me. I don't know that I really believe this one. But others describe an incident where something tossed large platforms out of a body of water. And it was described as having a head that resembled an elephant and a nearly 20-foot long body. I'm trying to figure out where the elephant head works into it.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know.
That's the only sea monster.
All right, so one thing I like to do with, I talked about this in the Manticore episode, where you've got these depictions of these old creatures that no one's really gotten a good look at, a lot of time has gone by, that kind of thing. So people can only describe things as being similar to something.
Sure.
So you talked about the elephant head. What if the elephant head bit was like the trunk was the rest of the neck? There was just like a coif around, like, say, where its shoulders would be if it weren't so serpentine, of like fleshy skin membrane that resembled like the big ears of an elephant.
That's spooky, and I like that a lot better than a sea serpent with an elephant head.
Yeah, like what if that's how it propels itself through the water, kind of like a jellyfish, and like
that's
and
fun.
pushes forward.
Oh, I could get into that.
You can get into that.
That's fun.
But then it would have like a tiny little head at the end of this like really long body.
It's like the size of an actual snake head, like a little ball python. And she's like, bleep. It's also said that there's a sunken car down there in that lake, and people like to believe that's its hideout.
Well, is it small enough to fit in the car?
Not if it's over 100 feet long.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Maybe it just likes the car.
Maybe it just likes the car. But, it reminds me when I was a kid, my brother had a junk car in the yard, and I used to, play in it. There's broken glass everywhere. I probably shouldn't have been playing in that. I wonder if my mom knows I played in that.
Well, if she listens to this episode, she does now.
Hey, Mom, I played in that car, and there was glass everywhere.
So anyway, Johnny's in trouble.
No, Sean's in trouble.
Or it was Sean. Sean's in trouble.
But the Pine Barrens Institute, remember the Pine Barrens? That's where the Jersey Devil is.
Right.
They have, a whole big thing about other cryptids, of course. And this is what they said. Logs, tree trunks, branches, large fish, and overturned boats floating in the water may account for some of these Wisconsin water dragons. More than likely, some of the stories were started by real estate promoters, some are resort hotel proprietors, and others likely to benefit from the publicity which a lively sea serpent might give to a particular locality. A resort lake without a sea serpent was behind the times. Water demons were popular animals in the news columns for 40, 50 years, and they are still.
That's true. I mean, we're going to a haunted hotel, later this month.
It is a drawing point. I think it had the opposite effect. I like to imagine the first person who did that was like, don't go there, that house is haunted. Like, trying to, mess with the competition, right? Like, oh, I'm going to ruin your reputation.
Right, and then
no one's going to come here. And then people are like, ghosts, you say?
Right, yeah. And he's like, well, I do need a place to stay, but also, I would like to have a spot of fun.
A spot of fun!
Let's see if we can go get spooked by the ghosts.
Oh, spooked by the ghosts does indeed sound fun.
Hey everybody, as we've mentioned before, after our episode on the Abita Springs Mystery Museum, the owner reached out to us and offered to let us stay at the Abita Springs Hotel, an allegedly haunted property with a building dating back to the 1890s. Or as they say, the perfect place to stay overnight and try to talk to ghosts and make a podcast episode out of it. If you yourself are interested in staying at the Abita Springs Hotel, and you should, you can find booking information at abitaspringshotel.com. Or give them a call at 985-951-4200. In short, the Abita Springs Hotel was built in a beautifully restored 1890s home. It has 5 spacious suites, each privately accessed from the wraparound porch. The hotel is nestled in lush gardens atop the healing waters of one of the town's famed artisan springs. Quiet, intimate, and comfortable, the Abita Springs Hotel promises a restful and restorative stay. Book your stay today. And now back to the episode.
So that's all I really have for you today. Is it a giant snake? Is it a plesiosaur? Is it wood? I don't know.
Is it an extremely large catfish?
It could be. Hey, Lakeland, look, if you can have catfish the size of a Volkswagen, why is a giant snake any different?
A lot of things in the water continue to grow long past after they should have
They
stopped.
They do. And many lakes connect to larger bodies of water by way of subterranean tunnels. There's no scientific proof, but the legend endures. I think that we want to believe in mythical creatures. I certainly do. I want there to be lake monsters. I want there to be Bigfoot. I don't really want there to be aliens, but maybe I do. I don't know. And there's so many animals yet to be discovered. 71% of the earth is water, and we've only explored between 5 and 20% of it.
I think I saw a thing the other day that it's like only 17% of the Earth's species have been cataloged.
Right. And who's to say that there weren't monsters then that may have gone extinct since or have moved on? Maybe they're aliens.
Maybe they're aliens.
And you also have to remember there are many species that we thought were extinct long ago. So like the coelacanth, the oarfish,
the giant squid.
We thought they were gone long ago, and we're finding that
or never existed.
And now we're finding, oh wait, they are real. So I think it's possible.
Well, how likely are you to survive an encounter? I guess we'll just say with lake monsters of the serpentine variety.
I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good because a lot of the stories, well, I guess you wouldn't hear the stories if they died.
Yeah.
I was going to say everyone survives the stories, but yeah, I guess they do if they're telling the story. I feel pretty good about it. You know what I feel like would happen, Clay? I'd be the person to say, no, I am getting good footage of this thing. And then I would fall into the water with it because I would drop my phone.
And then drowned without any sort of
right
aid from the sea serpent.
Yeah.
You just, and then die for being goofy.
I'd probably be okay. I'd probably be okay, mainly because I wouldn't get to see it, because I want to see it, and it would know that. And it'd be like, I'd give myself like an 8 out of 10 surviving.
Damn.
Yeah, I'd be fine.
Okay. I mean, a lot of people see it from the shore, and I guess that's fine, but if I'm in the water with it, I think my survival takes a dramatic dive. In the sense that I will be pulled to a watery grave. Humans can traverse water, sure, but we weren't built for it.
No, we were not.
So I'm assuming I'm meeting this creature on its own turf.
See, I kind of figured I was in a boat or on land.
Even if I'm on a boat, like unless it's like a big boat, like if I'm in just like a flat bottom boat.
Oh no, see, I'm picturing like a ship.
There wouldn't be a ship though. It's just a lake.
Well, not like a cruise ship, but like a nice boat.
A nice boat.
A nice boat.
Well, I'm being realistic, and I know that I can only afford to rent a flat bottom boat to
well,
go
I
out
can't
on this
afford
lake
to go at all.
By myself and in the dark with no weapons.
Okay, well, if I'm with you and we're in a flat bottom boat and it's dark and we have no weapons, then I guess, yeah, we probably would get eaten by the sea monster.
We get eaten by the sea monster. Yeah, I'll give myself a 4 in that there's at least a chance that I'm seeing this creature and I'm not in that particular situation.
I still feel like I would try to get footage and then drop my phone in the water and then die that way.
And then you just like, and like you bend over the boat and lose footage and into the water.
And then the monster's like, I'm not going to eat you.
Alright, well, how spooky are lake monsters?
Spooky. Anything underwater is spooky. I would give them a 3 spooky 5 me.
I think I'd just give them a regular old spook. I'm not that spooked by them.
Serpents in general, no, I think they're amazing. Water, anything underwater, it automatically for me kind of goes up a little bit. Because it's dark and it's scary and I don't know what it is.
I'll bump it up to a 2 spooky for me.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about being on that flat bottom boat in the dark with pretty much a light from an old lantern that I'm holding. I don't know why I've put myself in these dire straits, but there I am, and I see just like, a black, slick, cylindrical body roil the surface for just a second.
So cool.
And then disappear back beneath, the still water.
And then we shitted.
Yeah, like that would be spooky. How likely are they to exist?
I believe they exist.
Oh, yeah?
I do. I believe that there is... I don't necessarily think they're evil water spirits, although that is really cool. I think that they're in a species of fish or serpent.
That just hasn't been cataloged?
It just hasn't been cataloged yet. So I I feel fairly certain. Like, I'd give them like a solid 9 out of 10 that they exist.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is pretty high. I think I mentioned this back in the Megalodon episode. Pretty much anything that's underwater gets like a 1 or 2 point bump in this category.
Sure.
Just because anything underwater is less likely to have been seen.
Right.
This is an open ocean, of course, but there's a lot of lakes. And if nothing else, the Great Lakes, which are massive, are the size of...
Bigger than our state.
Bigger than our... Yeah, Lake Michigan is longer than Mississippi is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say a 6 or a 7. Maybe not, like you said, maybe not like an angry spirit or, a dinosaur that didn't die out, but there could certainly be something that we just haven't encountered.
Sure.
Some sort of fish.
And many cultures across the entire world, like we said, every lake has a lake monster.
Every lake.
So, why not?
How likely are they to be an alien?
Some of them are aliens.
Some of them are alien?
No, I don't actually think some of them are aliens.
Yeah, I don't think they're aliens either.
No, I think they're...
I mean, if what that one dude said is true about pyramids and having ties to Atlantis, that one might be an alien.
So when I said definitely an alien, that is the one that came to mind.
That's the one.
That was the one.
So that one, 10, absolutely an alien. The rest of them, probably not.
Probably not.
Alien, so I'll say a 1. There's no basis for these being aliens.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I'd give them like a 1.5. Just because I want to be different.
You want to believe just a little bit more that they're aliens.
I do. I've never had a paranormal encounter. I've never had like a cryptid encounter. But it appeals to me. And I have, like, while I'm scared of deep, dark water, I do feel the call to the abyss. So I kind of think maybe I drowned in a past life. Also, I almost drowned as a child.
I don't know that you've told me this.
I didn't. It was in a wave pool.
Oh, no, you did tell me.
Yeah, it was really scary. And my dad jumped in and saved me.
I was just thinking about how cool an alien race would be, though, if they were, like, just big, like, serpenty fish.
Yeah. And
maybe they came from a water planet. And how weird all their technology would be if that was the case.
That's another thing people... And it's like this with all cryptids. They're like, well, how did it go to all these different lakes? And it's a species. I don't think there is one lake monster. I think it's like maybe a really rare species, but it's a species.
It's kind of interesting to think about how like with the ocean, sure, it's all connected and things can move around and that sort of thing. But to think about freshwater fish and how there's not like freshwater fish that are specific to just like individual lakes, but rather like there's bass in lakes everywhere.
Right.
And it's like, well, how did we get to this point?
Yes.
How did these get here?
And now it's time for a section of our podcast that I made up just now called Iconic Cats, where I talk to you about a cat who has made a lasting impact on me.
It is too late in the episode for you to do this kind of bit.
Well, I'm pet sitting, and the cat's name is Unsociable, and I don't know why his name
Unsociable?
His name is Unsociable, but he is very, very sweet, and he took a nap with me this afternoon. It was great.
Okay. That's as much as you get.
That's all I had. That's all I had to say.
Well, good.
It's all I have
you can't start
to
singing.
say. Now I know
you can't. You already told you about copyright issues.
That's all I've got to say.
Well, everybody, that's it. I'm about to hit mute, and this is going to be over very suddenly without any sort of... I'm editing all of that out.
I love you.